Here we go, piece of pork there. Look at that. Welcome to another episode of the Survival Cookbook, where we take normal everyday stuff and make it a little bit more epic. Today we're going to talk about the staple of all zi char restaurants across Singapore. Fried rice. Let's be honest, okay, a lot of us have this image of fried rice, right? We have the idea of, wow, that flavorful zi char standard, you know, that where every grain of rice is all by itself separated, very flavorful on a char, blah blah blah. That's where reality kicks in and you end up with a pile of sticky, gooey mess. And today this recipe will teach you exactly how to get rid of all those. There's two things that you need to remember about a good fried rice. Number one, moisture. Number two is heat. Moisture is the number one enemy of any self-respecting fried rice. Okay? So, how do you solve this problem? Overnight rice. Why do we use overnight rice, guys? Because when you keep rice overnight in the fridge, what it does is it dries it up. It takes the moisture out of it. So make sure you have overnight rice that you keep in the fridge. Put them aside first, and let me introduce to you the rest of the ingredients. We have minced pork here, but you guys can use anything else. And then we have garlic. This is the Lee Kam Kee minced garlic. This is not an endorsement, but this thing is so epic, I need to tell you. However, there's a little problem because you can't actually really stir fry this very well because it pops. I use this for seasoning mainly, which is why I have another garlic, which is the usual normal minced garlic. And then you have some spring onion, and of course eggs, and salt and pepper. The second part of it, which makes it the zi char standard, which is the heat. So that's where you need a big pan like that, right? A big surface so that it has enough surfaces for the rice to cook. This is when my recipe is different from a lot of fried rice out there, is separate the yolk of the egg and it goes into the rice. Keep the whites here for later. Basically, I have about 250 grams of rice. It's like one big bowl with 2 egg yolks in it. The next thing you want to do is dump in this garlic that we talked about just now. So this is like almost 2 teaspoons of it. And you want to put some oil. Now the idea of putting the oil is just to make sure that as you mix, right, it actually separates them and prevents them from sticking together. And then some pepper. That's it. So what you need to do now is to mix this puppy up. You see how different it is when you're using overnight rice. It kind of breaks up very easily. It doesn't stick together. Okay, now set this aside for a little bit. If you have the time, you can even leave it for half an hour so that it dries out even more. Remember, moisture is the biggest problem, so we want to get rid of as much moisture as we can. The first thing you want to start cooking is actually the whites. Beat the egg white up a little bit, just get some air in it. I mentioned is the second most important thing is heat. It's about fast and furious, you know. That's where you get the char, that's where you get the flavor. So if you look over here, you can see the oil is really heating up. And once it starts to bubble a bit, you see some smoke coming out, and then in with the egg. Just for a very quick one. Just like a couple of seconds. The next thing you want to do is get your pork. Don't forget your garlic as well. You put the garlic in a little bit later, just so it doesn't burn. Okay, as it's about 3/4 cooked, what you want to do is dump in your rice. Guys, this is where you need to stir pretty quickly, alright? You can see a bit of the rice starting to burn, that is great. So that's the whole point of having a big pan like this. You give each grain of rice a chance to be on the surface of the pan. Towards the end of it, that's where you add your eggs back in, your egg whites. That way, the egg whites don't actually stick together with the rice. And towards the end of it, you put in your spring onion. And this is where you heat it with salt, because you want the salt to be separated from the rice, and that way when you eat into it, you bite into small little crystals of salt. Alright, look at that. Look at that, guys. Look at all the charring, and you know, every grain of rice is separated nicely. Alright. Ta-da! Favorite part of the whole show is, of course, to eat. A lot of people have a lot of leftover rice nowadays. So remember, this is what your leftover rice can become, right? So try this recipe, give it a shot, let us know how it works. I guarantee you'll love it. This is a public service announcement brought to you by your friendly neighbourhood Ah Beng. Today I want to talk to you a bunch of b****ers. I want to find loopholes in the law. Brother, why everything also want to argue? I wearing a sports attire ma, I don't need to wear mask. I in a restaurant waiting for my food, I don't need to wear mask ma. Do you think the virus care about the law? It's for your good, for my good. Come on, everybody cooperate a bit lah. So simple, wear mask only, bro. Wear mask only.